Welcome to the Fire Family Collective podcast, the show dedicated to supporting the unsung heroes of the fire service, the wives, partners, and families who hold down the fort while their firefighters serve.
This episode of the Fire Family Collective podcast is brought to you by the Ventura Fire Foundation, the City of Ventura Parks and Rec Department, the Gene Haas Foundation, and SoCal Edison. If you would like to support our mission to strengthen firefighter families, please click the link in the show notes or visit us at firefamilycollective.org. The Fire Family Collective has two upcoming events you won't want to miss. At the end of August, we're hosting a virtual conference for the wives of the over 10,000 firefighters who battled the LA fires earlier this year. The conference will help you ensure your family fully recovers from that deployment and builds resilience for the next deployment. We'll have sessions on PTSD, post-traumatic growth, substance abuse, nurturing your relationship, sleep recovery, yoga, fitness, meditation, and daily live video chats. Then, on September 6th, meet Audra and Chelsea from the Dear Chiefs podcast in person. Join us at the beautiful Malibu Wines and Beer Garden in SoCal to connect with Dear Chiefs and other fire wives. Space is limited and RSVP is required. Both events are free for members of the Fire Family Collective community. Join the community today for more details. And a link, as always, is in the show notes.
Hello, welcome to the Fire Family Collective. I am Amanda, and I have the pleasure of talking to Suzy today. We are so excited to chat with you today. We have some common background with our firefighter partners and myself as an educator and Suzy as a librarian. So Suzy, can you introduce yourself to us, please?
Hi, I'm Suzy. I have been a fire spouse for about 8 years now. I was a paramedic spouse before that, so I've got a few more years of the background there. And we live in Texas, and we have 2 kids and now 2 dogs because we just got a new puppy. So that's been fun.
Yes, you're so brave adding another living thing to take care of and all that you manage to do every day.
Yes, yes. It's been like having a newborn again. So that's
I
been
can
a little bit
imagine.
of an adjustment. Yeah.
So you are a librarian, so you work in public libraries, which is amazing. I love libraries. I grew up in my library at my school, going to the library. I take my kids to the library all the time now. How do you manage working as a librarian and being a first responder partner with 2 kids and 2 dogs?
It's hard at times for sure. I'm not working full time anymore, but I was when my kids were littler, and it was definitely like we had a schedule. You had to have a schedule because when he was at work, it was like I had to take them to school, or they were in daycare, so school, and then get myself to work, and then leave work later and go pick them up, and then come home and feed everybody. And um, we're very lucky that living here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we have a lot of family who has helped. So that's been really nice. When we lived in College Station, which is where Texas A&M is, it's a little farther south. We didn't have family down there, and my daughter was real little, but we had friends. So we had a little bit of a village down there. And so some people would help pick up after school if I needed it, and they'd bring her to the library and she would just hang out with me. And we had a nanny for a little while who would do that too. She'd just bring her up there and hang out because sometimes we had evening events, and so I'd have to stay later. And but a lot of them, I'm a youth services librarian, so a lot of them were she could come to and hang out.
That's
And
awesome.
my kids have always loved just coming to visit me at the library. So if my husband's off, sometimes he would pick them up early from preschool and bring them to visit, which was always really nice. Yeah, making a schedule has always been or and being flexible, like if something happens, because there's times where your kid's going to get sick and you have to go pick them up. So, um, having a schedule, and it helps to have a routine for the kids too. Like they know we're going to do this and this during the day, and daddy's at work, and we would video chat him every night. So they'd get to talk to him. But, just, and then being flexible with that schedule because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I've learned now, I mean, I was a teacher, and so my life used to be very regimented, and everything went out the window once I had kids. And I'm just getting back now into more of a structure rather than just kind of like a rhythm and flow. But also having a village of people to call on when things don't go as planned or there's an odd event, like you said. So it's nice knowing that within our community outside of family, that we have people that can show up for us and our kiddos. And I love that you have that in the both places that you've lived. So that's awesome.
Up here, it's really nice too. Like now, my kids are both in elementary school, and so we've made friends, and we have people in the neighborhood. And but I also, my husband works for a small department, and so a lot of people don't live all in the same area. But it's kind of like if I was over in Dallas, I could call so and so because they live over there. And so it's like I know that there's different people around who would be able to help if I needed the help.
That's awesome. One of the things that you mentioned is that you were a paramedic wife before you were a fire wife. And so I can relate. My husband and I met when we were 20. So he was just taking his fire science classes. He already had his EMT and was working with private ambulance company. Fast forward, we're 16 years later. So things look very different. But I would never want to go back ever. Like that journey was brutal. I was working on my undergrad. I was working um with work study to actually have an income myself, and he was grinding in his own way. It was rough. So, can you share your experience?
Yeah. So I was the one working at the time when he was actually going through paramedic school. I was a librarian. I'd gotten my first job as a librarian, and we moved to College Station. I mean, we didn't have kids then, so we just kind of were like, let's go on an adventure. And um, I helped him through paramedic school. He worked at HEB, that's the big grocery store down here in Texas, while he was in paramedic school. And then he worked on a private ambulance also down there, and he worked out in the counties. So a lot of it was, he had a lot of overtime, and um, it was getting used to that schedule for a while, and just being flexible, knowing that he was like, there could be overtime. But like once he was through paramedic school, it was such a relief to him because he's always like wanted to be a firefighter. That's like been his dream. And so when we first got together, he was actually he was in culinary school.
Wow,
And
that's different.
so I have a chef, and he cooks a lot for us, which is nice. Um and then that was just, the hours were crazy working, and so he and the school was very expensive. And so and then I got the job in College Station, so he was like, let's just go. And down at Texas A&M where we were, they have a really great paramedic school. And so it was like, just do it, like this is what something you want to do. And it was just great to see him excel and like feel at home in the paramedic world. And eventually we were down there for 6 years, and he was a paramedic for about 5. And then he went to fire academy up here. Actually, he was gone for 2 weeks. And back then we had just gotten the older dog we have now.
So
So,
you're dealing with your like puppy phase, right?
and my daughter was only 1. So I had like a newborn or a puppy, and then like a little kid. But I don't remember some of it because I was sleep deprived, right? Um, but that dog, it was supposed to be his dog and is more my dog because I really trained her. And so he went through fire academy, and then he got offered a job pretty quickly afterwards at a fire department, but it was up here in DFW, and I was still working in College Station. And so he would drive the 2.5 hours. A lot of times he'd come up the night before and he'd stay with family, like either my mom or his mom. And then he would drive to work in the morning, work for 24 hours, and then drive the 2.5 hours back home and be home for 2 days and then do it again. And we did this for 3 months before we were able to find a house up here, because it's just, the market has always been, crazy. And finding the money to put down, like as a new firefighter, and me working. And so it was hard sometimes. And sometimes he would stay up here for longer, especially if it was over like a weekend. And I'd try to come up with our daughter and just stay up here to be able to see him. During the beginning, he didn't get much overtime because he was a rookie. So I didn't have to really worry about overtime, but it was rough for him and for us, because it was like we weren't seeing him very much, but he was also dealing with being a rookie in the fire department. Like, even though he was a really great, coming in as a really great paramedic, they still, like, it's a different world. Like, you have to start at the bottom and work your way up. And
Right.
he's really passionate about being a firefighter. And so it was like he had to find his way in and where he fit in their dynamic to really feel like he fit in. So, but we ended up, we found a house up here and we we moved. So it didn't last for too long, but it was a rough few months, especially for him, because he wasn't getting a lot of sleep either. So
Right. So I can totally relate. In John's journey with becoming a paramedic, he was commuting from Orange County all the way out into the desert. So it was over a 2-hour commute for him. And I was working on my master's. And then we moved to Ventura because I got my teaching job out here. So he was now commuting almost 4 hours to go back and forth just for his paramedic job. And then taking classes, he decided to he got his AA and was like, okay, I'll go to school back and like try to finish my bachelor's because this commuting thing is killing me,
yeah,
um, and I haven't gotten hired full time yet. So for the fire department. So he ended up then getting a job for Sacramento. So that's over 6 hours away from Ventura. So then he moved to Sacramento. I stayed in Ventura until I could move up there. Then fast forward, kids, life, everything, right? We were in Sacramento for 7 years. Then we moved back to Ventura because life was just chaotic. We wanted to be in the community that we loved. It was
yeah,
a very hard choice to make, but he was then commuting back to Sacramento over 6 hours. And those were like, like I said, I would never want to go back. And I honestly think those first few years of him being in, like, commuting from Orange County to the desert and even Ventura to the desert were harder in some ways than when
hmm,
we had kids, because we really never saw each other. Not that we didn't have the same reason to, like, be together. I know that sounds so bad, but it's true. It was like, it was just me. So, like, wasn't that big of a deal to be away for an extra day. So he
yeah,
was like renting a room, or he'd stay with my grandma depending on when it was. Thankfully, she lived out there because it was expensive. We're just starting out in our careers. Like, we don't have a lot of money. And um, then when he was commuting from Ventura to Sacramento, I mean, I couldn't sleep because I was so stressed about him doing that drive. And
yeah,
he did that for 6 months. So it was very stressful. We're in a new community, like rebuilding friendships, and he's driving all the way back there. And I'm like, what are we doing? I have a 10-month-old and a 2-year-old, and my
yeah,
husband is 6 hours away. I like what I don't, my closest family is hours away. If something happens, I'm screwed. Like,
mhm,
like, how did we decide this was a good adult parenting decision? But
right,
fast forward, now he's local, which is really nice. But it's hard when, like, you're going through all of that and you're questioning, are we making the right decision? Is this leading down the path that we're
yeah,
hoping it's going to lead down? And how do we get through it? And somehow we do.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, it's just like you just buckle up and deal with it kind of thing. I mean, I think it really makes your relationship stronger though,
For sure.
because you're away from them and you kind of have to like figure out things on your own. Like we've figured out over the years, like you have to do the maintenance on the car or call somebody for the overflowing toilet or, and you have to be okay with doing all that on your own. And I mean, you can call him and be like, "This is happening," but he could be like, "I don't know what to tell you." So yeah, and it's finding those people who will help you and support you too is really a big deal.
Yeah. I think if we looked at statistics, 99% of the time the big problems happen when our partner is on duty and we're figuring it out. Like, why couldn't this have happened, yesterday when you were home? Like,
Right.
I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But we, like you said, it builds like our resilience and it shows our kids like what we can do. And it's hard, but we figure it out.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and seeing them be so passionate about the job too, though, like really feels like it's worth it because they're so happy and like excited to go to work most of the time. I mean, sometimes they're tired and they're like, "Oh, I have to go back," but most of the time they're like excited to go fight a fire or whatever they do a lot of training. And so my husband, he's also an instructor out at one of the fire schools now, and so he loves a lot of the training that they get to do because he's doing it out there with the new students. And so they're figuring out new ways to fight fire and save lives and hopefully safer ways than back in the day. But so yeah, it makes it worth it because you're seeing them excited and happy in their job.
For sure. I mean, there's just being, first responder family, our kids are getting such a great insight into giving back to community and sacrificing for like something for us for someone else, and being able to have that conversation with our kids all the time is hard. And I've had my son say plenty of times, well, can't we just call 911? Like, I want daddy to help me. um and we've had to navigate that, but it is amazing. Like, seriously, they get to go hang out with some of the coolest people who
Mhm.
put everything on the line, who continue education, give back in different ways with training and volunteering and doing all these things. Like, you couldn't ask to be surrounded by better type of people. And it's very giving and it is very taxing. They run crazy calls and we deal with so many things. But just the fact, like you said, that they're showing up doing something that really excites them and breathes life into them, it makes it easier when the toilet is overflowing and the sink isn't working
Yeah.
and you're cleaning up whatever, figuring out the plumber, whatever, like, why is
Yeah.
the smoke alarm beeping? It's 2 a.m. You know,
Yes,
it's
yes.
it's
And
just
he's always really supported me. Like we were together when I was getting my master's for library school. And so he's been there for me through all of that too. And so it's nice to be able to like support them. And yeah, it's hard. Um, they're gone long hours and the kids have questions but like you said, they're seeing them, care for others. And like my husband always says, he just has it in his heart that he wants to help people. Like he's always felt that way. And that's really why he does his job because he wants to be there and be the one who runs in and helps someone.
yeah. I think being able to connect with women like you and other women through the Fire Family Collective has been so validating because, years ago, I didn't have something like this and I felt so crazy. Like when I was
Mhm.
going to my first mom's groups with my son, I was like, none of these women understand anything I'm
Understand.
going
Yeah.
through. And it made it very hard and much more isolating. We lived even further from family and I had to stop going. I couldn't walk in every week and just feel worse about myself and my circumstances. It was horrible, but it wasn't that bad, but it was in my head and I couldn't connect. So being able to have this new Fire Family Collective that we're bringing to life, and hopefully whatever it is that, our sisters are navigating, we can connect with them and help them feel less alone and just seen and validated, and we're walking alongside them in it. Like, we can't fix it. We can't wave a magic wand. I can't fix your toilet in Dallas. I'm sorry. But I've been there
Yeah.
and it sucks. So what else, you know, like, we can do this together. We've done hard things. We will continue to do hard things. And it's just really nice knowing that we have people that truly get it.
Yeah, I love it because even though we're all over the country, it's like we're still connecting and still making those connections. And like even here it's hard because his department's small. And like I know a lot of the wives and I have their phone numbers and I text them, but it's not like everyone has their own lives. Like a couple of them are nurses, so they work nights or and they're not always available to chat. And so it's nice to have this the Fire Family Collective where I can reach out and somebody's going to get back to me eventually and feel what I'm feeling with me. And so it's been really nice to have that. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like just having more isn't a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah.
So, you know, when
More
it's like,
support is always good. Yeah.
yeah, when it's just like our small department, um, sometimes, like you said, everyone has their extracurriculars, their own job, whatever it is, it's almost harder to get together with someone who's in your same department because they're on the same schedule as you. Like, you need someone who's different schedule to
Right.
actually be able to, like, make the connection. So I love that. One
And I
of the other,
totally get like the moms group thing. Like I had trouble when we first moved up here, like connecting with people. Um, because everyone always thought it was so cool that I was married to a firefighter. And I'm like, yeah, it is cool, but you don't really understand. Like, I'm alone a lot and I need somebody to just come hang out. And there's like people have their own things to do. So, yeah.
yeah, the loneliness is very I okay, so personally, I like my space and I like being alone, but it's different when you have kids. I don't know, it just changed everything for me. Like, before, when we didn't have kids, I could not talk to anyone for 2 days and I was happy. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be in my routine, I'd go to my, you know, my gym, do my thing. I did not need to have any socialization. But now with having kids, like, go crazy if I don't have adult conversation in some
Right.
form. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
really nice having this group of women to reach out to and just to connect with and feel like an adult, a human, and not just isolated in motherhood. So, uh,
Yeah, and I was like the same when I first because I was working in library, so I was like socializing all day. And so being alone was like okay with me. I was like, I get to go home and just like watch whatever I want or read a book, go, you know. And so, but yeah, like once you have kids, it's like you're talking to your kids all day and you're around them. Or I mean, you might go to work and then come home to them and you're if your job you're socializing at your job and you might be talking to adults, but it's different. You're working at the same time. And so like to come home and get on here and be like, my day was horrible. I had to do this, this, and this. And for someone to be like, I see you,
mhm.
um, is really wonderful.
Yeah. So one of the things that I love to transition is, because you're a librarian, you have some great books that you can recommend. So I want to make sure that we touch on those. And just in general, reading has been lifeblood for me and resurfaced just this past year, because it was not on my radar in the newborn years. But I love reading. I love listening to books. I'm so thankful there's ways we can access books audio now that we did not have before. So can you share some of the books that you recommend for our unique fire first responder life?
So one of the ones I always recommend, and we hand it to like other couples, is The Challenges of the Firefighter Marriage. And it's by the Gaglianos. It's a husband and wife. And he goes around, and I'm sorry if I say their last name wrong. um, my husband's actually met him. He's gone to like a conference where he was speaking. And so, they've been doing it a long time. And that book just has mostly written by her, and so you get her, like, side of things, but there also are tips from him about, like, what he's learned along the journey and how to support his wife too.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a really great book. Like I said, we give it to a lot of the couples when they first join the fire service. We're like, "Here, you need to read this because it's
Yeah,
gonna make your marriage stronger."
I'm definitely checking that out. I have been blessed to get to know some of the new firefighter partners, significant others, and it's just amazing. But like taking me back in time of that early years, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to like dredge up these memories and like, and I want to support them. So reading this will be just another thing to support us all. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
One that my husband and I recently read, because as you and I have talked about a little bit, uh, fitness, and I recently became a certified yoga instructor. And so we have a company down here called First, and they're actually going in and helping first responders with their mental health, um, through workouts, through yoga, through counseling. Um, but there's a book that I was recommended, and it's called Mindfulness for Warriors. And it's by Kim Cosglove. I think that's her last name. It's up on the Fire Family Collective. Um, and it is a little bit darker because there are examples of what the first responders have been through. And you read through these stories and it was like I was crying, but you feel more connected, and as a spouse, you get to see more of what they go through. And so she's a first responder spouse and wrote this book to help others because she's going around and helping with mindfulness and like helping first responders figure out how to be more mindful so that they can like calm their nervous system because of what they deal with.
Right. Well, one of the things that I know that we've heard, is the secondary trauma we experience as the partners of the first responders because, they do debrief us on some things and it just having tools like this to help us support ourselves and support them is nice to just call upon when hopefully when we need it. And even though, it might be more realistic, the mindfulness warriors, like another one I want to check out for sure because it's hard. Like I don't always know what they go through and I can't have complete empathy because I'm not on the ambulance. I'm not in the fire engine. Like I'm not in that burning house with them. I can only imagine. Um, so having another resource to help me help them is always nice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and they don't always want to talk about what they've been through either because it's hard. I mean, especially since like once we had kids, any call that involves a child has been really a lot harder for my husband. And sometimes he wants to come home and talk about it a little, especially if they were able to, help the child. Um, but sometimes he doesn't want it. He's like, I had a bad call today. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you just have to be there to support them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most challenging things of us living within the same city now that my husband is working for is that we drive around and there's a lot of triggers. I ran a call here and I'm like, ugh, I didn't think about that before. And when we were in Sacramento, we lived like 30 minutes away from his department, even though we were in the same county, it just, the city. So he didn't have that same type of triggering as often. We did go downtown, he would be like, "Oh, that building was on fire and I ran that call there and this is the ice blocks." And, you know, as horrible as it is, like it was cool. Um, but it's different being in the same vicinity every day and having
Yeah.
that side of it. And then the cool side of it is we get to see him if he's on duty and he forgot his towel at home or he needs more food because he's staying another day or they're having it's Father's Day and he's on at work so we get to go visit him at the station more easily. There's a lot of perks to it too.
Yeah. I mean, we're about 30 minutes away from where my husband is. And so we still go visit him, especially like on holidays and stuff, or if it's a weekend, we'll go out and hang out. Because now they are on a 48-96 shift, which is actually really nice because he gets more time at home. He gets more downtime to decompress. And um, but yeah, I've taken things to him after I've dropped the kids off at school. He called me and he's like, I forgot, blah, blah, blah. So I'll run it over to him. Um, so he is a little bit farther from like where he's working, which I guess is nice. But we go through that city a lot when we're going other places. So sometimes there's triggers. Um, yeah.
That's yeah, I think it's just the nature of the job. Anything can really, remind them of it, right? Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, well, last thing, is there any before we hang up, before we end, is there anything you wanted to chat about that we didn't talk about so far?
I mean, as a librarian, I also put on the Fire Family Collective, like books for kids too, because there's so many good books out there. There's some that aren't as great, but as a librarian, I see all of them as they come through the library, and I like to read them now because I'm like, oh, my husband's a firefighter, or the kids are like, oh, this book's about daddy, and then sometimes when you look at them, they're not the greatest, but some of them are really great, and they like give examples of the day to day, like what they're doing and the inside of the firehouse. And so I have a list up there. I mean, I'm always available for more recommendations though too.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, and I forgot I have it written down here. And some of the books that you mentioned on the Fire Family Collective, like we already have for our kids, and there's more to check out. And I actually got a new book for the kids, and I don't know where it is right now. But yeah, so check out the Fire Family Collective. We have so many great resources in there. We are so grateful to be in community with you, Suzy. Thank you for taking time to chat with us today.
Thank you.